You have to understand that you're not going to win every day. The Vince Lombardi quote, right? It's like perfection is not achievable, but if you reach excellence along the way, that is. So yeah, you don't give up.
But I believe the great is still yet to come. I won't stop fighting, man, until I'm done.
DMG, is there an event in your life where you said, you know what, not what I wanted, this is not good, you learned from it and it moved you forward?
Golf related as well, but one of my memories that came to me is high school golf, and just how more than half the kids weren't serious.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even just pulling balls out of the woods, like crazy
Yeah.
stuff. I know it's practice, but I'm a big person of practice how you play.
Yeah.
And so that's something I took, where if I'm serious in practice, I'm actually trying, I'm going through my pre-shot routine, I'm doing all the steps, everything I can do, and then tournament day comes and I don't perform how I wanted to. I know I did everything in practice how I played that I could, but I watched other people around me goof off in practice, not be serious, and then comes tournament day and they're surprised that
And
they're
they
not
play
playing well.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
the inverse too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That used to frustrate the heck out of me. The inverse of that was like I practiced back in the day. Like so, I write down every workout I've done since 1991. Like that's what I do. And then I used to have a practice log where I write down, take as my teacher in high school said, I take copious notes. I write down what I'm working on that day. And then I go out there and Joe Schwackhammer, who was not practicing at all, went out and played like 2 strokes better than I did. I'm like, what the flip? And that doesn't help, folks. Like, and it was a Tiger Woods quote and a Simone Biles quote, and because we were studying quotes all day long, was just because you didn't win that day, right, doesn't mean you weren't successful that day. It's an evolution. You have to understand that you're not going to win every day. The Vince Lombardi quote, right? It's like perfection is not achievable, but if you reach excellence along the way, that is. So yeah, you don't give up. Yeah, I get it, man. I get I get what you're saying. Yeah. So yeah, I guess what we're all saying is focus going forward. So take what's happened in the past, learn from it and move forward. Because I think we're all guilty of that. I mean,
Of course.
Yeah.
I think everyone's guilty of that. Looking back on the past and, I don't know, just not thinking of it as a learning experience.
Right.
Because when you think of it as a learning experience and not just a tragedy, I lost this tournament because I stink, opposed to I lost this tournament because maybe I just didn't get my wedges close like we did the one day when me and you played. I got to get my wedges closer.
Well, you hit like 16 greens, right?
And 16 greens.
It's like 72. Like that's something's wrong there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just learning from that. Although I didn't make it into the tournament like I wanted to, just learning from that and trying to get better. I do that with just about everything in my life. Not just golf. Just golf's probably the biggest.
Well, yeah, and I remember. I think we lost the Metropolitan Championships at Rutgers by 1. We thought we actually had won it. Zach had made a 30-footer uphill on the last hole, and we thought that was for the win. But there was, I guess, another team in a different way. We ended up losing by 1 stroke or something like that. And from a coaching perspective, I know there was an incident where I was just off the tee box and I'm watching one of my players tee off, and a player for another team pulled the ball way left, and it went over the hazard and into the water, and he said, it crossed the margin of the hazard like 150 yards up, and like I was probably 20-30 yards away, and like I'm just assuming he's going to put the ball where it truly crossed the margin of the hazard, and I'm doing something, and then I look up and I see the kid walking down the fairway, and I go over to talk to my guy, and I'm like, what's going on? He's like, yeah, he said it crossed the margin up there. I go, no way it did. He's like, yeah, I didn't think it did either, but like we didn't want to create waves. Like, what? I'm like, so it just turns out not only did that kid drop the ball 150 yards up, he hit it stiff to 3 feet and made the putt. So, I mean, at that point, by the way, that kid won the tournament, and that kid's team won the tournament by 1. So, yeah, I mean, as a coach, when I went back, I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I should have, and like, so I took it as a teaching moment. And as you guys know, as you've played for me, as an NCAA coach, you figure your kids know the rules. No, right? I mean, most college kids do not know the rules. So we go over a rule a week, and that rule will live forever. I take situations where one of our players, or like when Andrew got like an 11 on a hole because he didn't know where to drop the ball, he kept dropping it in waist high grass because he didn't know the rule. I take those opportunities as learning experiences. So some of the most deep seated, like painful golf experiences that I have, I try to turn into learning experiences. Yeah.
Glass of bourbon, ha ha. My bourbon, ha ha. My bourbon, ha ha. Alcohol, because no great story ever started with "I'll have a salad."